So I keep not knowing how to start these, and I always wanted to do my own intros. I've been getting suggestions that I should do intros for these. I honestly don't think I'm ever going to become an intro person. This is also new. It could just be a thing that I go through for a while and then eventually get an intro, but I don't think that's really going to be me for a bit. It's probably going to be a lot of these where I complain about, getting to just doing the thing. But, starting out is always the difficult part, and I just kind of want to get into it rather than, do an intro, try and create an intro. Otherwise, I get all kind of lost in my message because I'm like, how do I tie it together? But for today's video, we're going to be doing another kind of interesting video like I did for my first one. That was my first D&D character. This is going to be probably my favorite comic book character I've had since I found out about him. Genuinely, I'll just tell you now, it's John Constantine. You may have been one of those people that saw the Keanu Reeves growing up, and it is a great movie, as long as you pretend like it's not a Constantine movie. Because there is a lot of aspects about him that are absolutely like how Constantine is in the comics and is in the movies I'm going to talk about. I'm going to try and do spoiler-free for these, but in that movie, he's really close to his comic book character, but there's just a lot of things that are missing from it that kind of take me out of the character versus these movies, which are really where we start to actually see John Constantine start to work. John Constantine started becoming my favorite character. I honestly, I don't know, because it kind of started almost around high school, if not as high school was ending. I started getting more into esoteric-y type stuff and magic, and it was kind of just more interesting to fall into those, because I'd been interested in superheroes for so long that, it's like, once you kind of feel like you figured out superpowers, the fictional thing that we don't have a lot of basis for, you kind of start moving into other things. And I really moved into the magic side of DC, Marvel, and other kinds of comics. So originally, John Constantine was a part of his own comic series called Hellraiser. And I've actually been thinking recently, and I think whenever I renew for my new license plate for my car, I may actually be making my license plate Hellraiser, only because this dude is so much not only my favorite character, but if I was in a comic series, it is as a comic character, it is tough to think that I'm not either John Constantine or Doctor Strange. I feel like they're I want to do I'm probably gonna do another version of this later where I do a comparison between Doctor Strange and John Constantine, because honestly they're pretty close to the same characters. The things I would say that are different about them, I will probably end up talking about in that video at length more about. But it's really, John ends up going into more of an angel-y demon side, because that's how DC is more set up versus Marvel, where they're more, like you see with Thor, they're all phantasmagorical and stuff like that, and it's all about fairies and other types of celestials and stuff like that. But John was really interesting to me because I was like detective stuff growing up. My dad and I used to watch CSI, and I loved Criminal Minds with my mom. Like, we just all were kind of in that copy type world. And then I find out about this dude who is not only like a lone wolfy type noir detective, but he also has magical powers. And holy cow, when like those two things kind of coincided, and then you also find out about his personality, and he is really, I would say he is, uh it's not like a leave it all on the line type of person, but in every type of fight you will see him in, he is very like, I'm going to do what is necessary to get it done, and if I die in the process, then so be it. A lot of people think I'm not all self-sacrificey, but I think in the actual, well, in real life, but in a phantasmagorical type sense where I have magic or superpowers, I think I would be more inclined to be helping people and using my abilities to help people. Like, he's a noir detective, but he like actually uses his powers more than just in the superhero world and stuff like that. He actually still does cases and helps people and finds stuff. But this is where you actually find out, when you go into the magic side, because this happens in DC and Marvel, you actually find out that a lot of the underbelly stuff that's happening is actually stuff that's happening from other dimensional creatures that are affecting humans, and it's causing more things to transpire. And it's super interesting the more you dive into the magic side. But John, for instance, which is a better movie to talk about first? I guess City of Demons is probably a really good one, because this is not only like an origin story for John, and you get to find out about him and Astra. Astra, if you saw Sandman, they talk / show you a little bit of what happens to Astra, but basically she gets kidnapped by a demon who basically laughs in John's face as he does it, because this is essentially the first demon he ever summons, and because he's so arrogant, he doesn't weave a binding spell on him, because he essentially thinks that he can take it down and doesn't really need to worry about it, because he's this big badass dude that got magic. And genuinely, I think if I got powers, I'd probably end up doing something stupid too. Would it probably get people hurt? Yeah, probably. Because you know what? If I got superpowers, man, would there be a lot of things I would do. But John in this story is reconnecting with a friend, and in that he finds out that his best friend, has a kid and is getting hounded by a demon, and he has to call in help reluctantly, but is essentially a trusted person. And I feel like John, because when he switches over from being a normal person, when he switches from being a normal person and gains magical powers, he gives up so much. And I feel like I would do that to protect all the people I cared about, because, especially if you know me, I am definitely bound to piss off the wrong person, and I would prefer keeping all of the people I care about far away. But he also still watches over everyone, he still protects people. I mean, like, a bunch of stuff he does in the comics, he basically does while helping people that demons or other creatures find people that he used to care about or is currently caring about, and while he's saving them, he's still just chuckling along, and he has very dark humor. I have very dark humor. Just like, the more stuff that I learned about John, the more I got interested in DC as well, because like in Justice League Dark, not only gave me another side to John, because he essentially becomes the man alive at the end of the apocalypse, or the man that is alive at the end of the apocalypse. I don't know which is the better term to do it, but essentially out of everyone that goes to fight Darkseid, I should have said spoiler warning, but I'm not really editing these videos yet. I was going to be doing that, but I didn't get around to figuring out my software today, so we're just kind of winging it. But anyways, in this movie, he is essentially the last one alive, well, the last one not completely scarred, after fighting Darkseid. They straight up go to his homeworld, and I'm telling you right now, no matter how much, like, unless you had Dr. Fate, or, I don't know, there's a lot of people on the list I would have on my team before I personally went to fight Darkseid. I feel like I would be pretty, well, a lot of my friends think I would be pretty arrogant if I had powers and would be just like all gung-ho, like I'm gonna go take people on, but genuinely I feel like if I didn't have the proper backup, I definitely wouldn't have gone to fight Darkseid, and he even says as such. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that John does in this. Like, he even releases someone again, like what he did in this, but someone way worse in this movie, to try and stop Darkseid. And it almost goes worse, but, like, the amount of luck this man simultaneously has and doesn't have is comical. And that's also kind of how my life is. Like, I simultaneously can have the most horrible shit happen, but then I will also have something really funny / really good happen at the same time. It's all funny. But he's an interesting character. I love all the stuff he's done in his comics. Like, there's crazy feats he's done too. He basically told, it was either Anubis, it was one of the gods of the dead. He basically gave them the finger. Oh no, it was Nabu, who is the Egyptian god who inhabits the helmet, the Dr. Fate helmet. He puts it on and basically gives him the finger, and they do this whole soul swap, because Constantine is very, what's the good way to put it? Very lucrative with his soul. He basically gives it to a bunch of people, has them fight over it. I think at one point in the comics, he gives it to like 7 or like 20 or some crazy amount of demons, and basically makes them fight over it to the point to where they all go, we're just gonna give it back. Just fuck this. We won it over. We just won it over. Let it be done. And, you know, it's really interesting how you really get to see this man just also trying his hardest the whole time. The only times he really gives up is when he can clearly see that there is no hope of winning. And I'm like that too. Not exactly a great thing, but I like odds, and if my odds are pretty low, I tend to avoid doing the thing, and unless I have someone trusted there. And that's what ends up happening in this as well. To kind of wrap that around to this, and then I will finish up here, but he later gets with probably the single most important person in his life, which is Zatanna. And if a lot of people around here either like any of the Magic-y series in DC or Young Justice or anything like that, you would know who Zatanna is. Or if you like really old DC, you would know who Zatara is. Technically, you would still know who Zatanna is because she was in old comics too, but I don't really like talking about the old comics that much because they honestly are kind of bad to even think about, especially Zatanna's and Zatara stuff gets kind of racy. But Zatanna and Zatara, Zatara is Zatanna's dad, and they are a specific race of species in the DC universe other than John, who is a warlock. They are Homo Magi, Zatanna and Zatara. That is what they are classified as. They are essentially people that were given magical abilities, kind of like how Strange is a sorcerer, but it's more like they're a witch versus a sorcerer. It's kind of the same thing, but it's more like terminology. As a writer, you kind of just start picking words and it just starts working for you, and people end up sticking with them. But I really like DC's magic sometimes more than Marvel's. And with Zatanna and Zatara, Zatanna actually tries teaching John magic. Actually, they fall in love as well, and she tries to get him to not be so destructive, and he tries to help her, and they are really great together, but what keeps happening is they keep one-upping each other a lot, to the point to where they split because they realize they're always going, like, it's really dumb, but they basically realize they're always going to save each other. So to be healthy, they're like, we're gonna split. Which, if you think about it, makes no fucking sense. Because if you can, and seemingly do, keep saving each other, wouldn't it make sense to just keep doing that? And because you enjoy helping people and saving people, you would just keep doing that thing. And even if you die, you die. Like, that is seemingly the thing you two enjoy doing most. And it's what you both talk about having responsibilities for. Like, John is literally like, I'm a demon, I gotta repent and do like all these good deeds so that way I'm not a terrible person, but is also at the same time like, I don't give a shit that I'm a bad guy. Versus Zatanna, who is scared to play in the dark, but also uses her light powers to play in the dark. It's so interesting. But essentially, that's the big wrap on why John Constantine, well, at least for now, why John Constantine is my favorite comic book character. If you have any suggestions for me, I am still using my phone right now, but I do plan to be switching to my camera, plus being able to edit videos better. I know I did a lot of ums in this video, and I know this is probably going to be longer. I've been trying to fix things, but honestly, as I am working on this, it's just going to slowly improve, and I hope you guys stay more along the way. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.